Hi there and welcome back. Welcome to video number 10 for Small Engines Questions and Answer for Friday, August 20th, 2010. So I hope everybody's doing well today. Might as well get started with the first question. First question is, when adjusting the idle screw on carbs, do you usually set it at a slow or fast pace? So I'll show you on a carb what this question is referring to. What he's referring to is this screw right here, which goes against the butterfly mechanism here for the throttle. Now if you turn in that screw, your machine's going to idle faster. If you turn it out, it's going to idle slower. It's only for the idle setting. So I've got a nickel grass trimmer here, and I'm going to show you how that works and why I adjust it at the speed that I do. Now on this trimmer, it's right here. It's the screw here. So before I start it up, I want to tell you that if I turn it in, it's going to idle faster. If I turn it out, it's going to idle slower. On this trimmer, because it has a clutch, the trimmer line isn't always turning. So what I do is I set the idle pretty high so that the motor idles faster, but you got to make sure that the trimmer head isn't turning. On the other weed eaters with no clutch, the head's always turning, so it's not as critical as to where your idle is. Another reason I like to keep the idle high is so that when you throttle up, the motor's already turning a little faster, and I find it's more responsive if it's already turning a bit faster. So I'll show you that. So that's why I set my idles a bit high like that. I apply the same principle on chainsaws, but you gotta make sure that your chain isn't turning when your machine's idling. Now another question that I often get is, can I get a quieter muffler for my Briggs lawnmower? Well, here's the 3.5 lawnmower. This mower usually comes with this screw-in type muffler. Now the quieter muffler for Briggs is this muffler here. It's fairly bigger. But the problem with this muffler here is that it won't fit on the Briggs 3.5 Classic bolt holes over here. The space between the two bolts here is too wide to fit on that one. So unless you can find a muffler that can bolt in here or screw in here that's bigger, then your mower is going to make the same amount of noise. This muffler here, you're usually going to find it on bigger Briggs & Stratton engines, probably the 4 to 6 horsepower engines, and they're much quieter. It's a huge difference from the screw-on type muffler. Question, how do I remove the muffler if it's broken in here and rusted? Well, you may have to get a small chisel and chisel it out from inside the threads. Make sure you don't damage the threads, or heat it up, move it, and then pull it out with pliers. If you can't salvage the threads, find a muffler that you can screw into the two bolt holes right here. Now my last question today is there a way to tighten up lawn tractor belts? Well, most of the time, there's no way to tighten these belts. What happens is they stretch. They may not break. They stretch and then they slip because they're too long. Here's a belt on a deck of a 316 John Deere. And this spring here is what keeps the tension on the belt. There is no adjustment to tighten up the belt. It's the same on this tractor here. It's a Craftsman. Now underneath it's kind of hard to see, but there's a belt for the mower here and a drive belt up top, and there's no adjustments whatsoever to tighten up these belts. And I found it to be the same on many other tractors. They're usually non-adjustable, and like I said, if you start having a problem or your wheels don't turn enough or your deck's not cutting right, check the belt. It doesn't have to be broken to have to be replaced. A quick tip here. Get a lot of people tell me I've hit something with my mower and now I'm hitting stuff, or I have to lift the deck higher for it not to rub on the ground. Well, that's usually because when you hit stuff, the end of your blade gets bent up like this. It's already bent a bit because of the mulching blade it is, but the tips shouldn't be curled up like that at the end, and what happens is it becomes 1 inch to 2 inch lower to the ground, and it's going to hit a lot of stuff like that. So if you hear noise, check the tip of your blades to see if they need to be replaced. If you have a driveway that has a lot of obstacles in it, like stumps and rocks and different stuff like that, your blades don't last too long. Also, with the blade being bent like that and possibly missing a bit of metal on it, it can make it very imbalanced, and your mowing deck may vibrate a lot. And that's because the blades are uneven. So that's it for today. Before I close off today, I want to thank some YouTubers who've sent me some donations. No matter what the amount is, I really appreciate that. It does help me out a lot more than you think. So thank you, and we'll see you next Friday in my next Small Engines questions and answers video, which will be video number 11 next Friday. Take care now.